Good morning, India, and welcome to this joint podcast between Ganashot and P Gurus. Namaskaram, Shri Ayerji.
Namaskaram, sir. How are you?
First class. So we've said good morning, India. So, what are your opening views on day 5 of Iran war?
Well, some changes have happened. For example, there's a front that's now opened up along Kurdistan, or the Kurdish front, where the Kurdish people are in majority. There is some trouble that's being fomented against the Iran regime, and this is something new, and very quickly that's happening. That's one part of it. I also know that in Syria, they are massing up their troops along the Lebanese border. I don't know what that is. Maybe you can throw some light on that, why that is happening. And now Israel is pushing the Hezbollah far north of the Litani River. There's another river. They want people to, the normal non-Hezbs, to move to even beyond that. So they're trying to create an even bigger buffer there. And there's still pounding going on now. It's B-52 bombers that are, these are not supersonic, they are subsonic. And these are from Second World War, I think. And massive bombing still going on. Where, and is it 700 people dead so far? That's what I saw as a number. And plus you have the Hormuz Strait, which appears to be still closed. Over to you, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. We'll go through a sequential thing which I've prepared, and at any point of time you need any clarification, we'll go through with it, right? So that we get a clear idea as to where we are going. But interestingly, before that, I want to get back to India. What's happening in India? When all this whole story is, the West Asia is exploding, Middle East is in war, everything. 4 days back, Mark Carney came to India. Yesterday, Finland's president, Mr. Alexander Stubb, he's in India. And he comes to India, right? And he talked something very interesting. I thought we'll start from home, where our situation is, and then we'll go to wherever we have to go. Hear it. If you can't hear this thing, let me know, then I'll put the video on directly.
And how is the world looking at India navigating this situation and the role India can play in times to come?
We want leadership. You are the most populated country in the world. You have both demography and economy on your side. And as I will say in my speech tomorrow, Finland is the happiest country in the world, and you are the most optimistic country in the world. For us to combine this happiness and optimism, I think is a big deal. I think the future is very much in India's hands.
I think there you have it. The strongest message coming from you, happiness and optimism combined.
There you go.
Many thanks for joining us here on India Today. Hope you have a great trip. Enjoy what remains of the Festival of Colors, because the Festival of Colors is also the Festival of Hope
and Harmony. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
So your views on this, it's very interesting. The president of Finland comes here and he talks of, harmony and this and that in India and hope and all that, and and sir, the Indian perspective.
He's buttering up, sir. Buttering up.
I agree with you. It's not only he who's buttering up, a lot of people are buttering up with India. Okay.
Right.
Now let me, everyone must be thinking. You said Strait of Hormuz, closure, oil price, hike, all that. I want to put something in perspective as far as India is concerned and take you back and something. And it just came out. There's an old clip which I played earlier also. But I want to play again and put things in perspective. Here we go. And it's a very interesting perspective which this man brings
in
out.
July 2008, for reasons that were completely separate from financial markets, oil price hit a peak of $148 a barrel. Keep this math in your head. India had just become $1 trillion economy then. And how much oil were we importing? On a net basis, we were importing 900 million barrels of oil. Now at $148 into 900 million, that is $140 billion was our annualized import bill in the month of July 2008. Nobody on the planet will fund 14% of your GDP.
Yeah.
Because that was 14%.
Yeah.
And so we crashed. We had to. The rupee had to go down, interest rates had to go up, and stock markets had to react to this. So that was our situation then. In the last 10 years, we have completely transformed this. And it's a story that even the government doesn't advertise, which is that our oil dependency has gone down by almost 60%. Trailing 12 months, India imported 1.7 billion barrels of oil net on a $4 trillion economy. So our economy has quadrupled since 2008. Our oil import bill is up 80%. Now, oil is, of course, at $60, but let's assume it goes to 140. Right? 140 into 1.7 billion barrels will get us to about an oil import bill of $325, $330 billion, which in a really worst case scenario will still only be about 6% of our GDP. So even if oil went back there, which it is not going, oil is no longer consequential to our current account.
So what do you make of that? It's a very interesting maths he's come up with. And what does it tell you about the Indian economy and its strength and how much buffer we have?
It's very true, sir, that India has got a comfortable buffer stock now. And in terms of the cost of crude messing up India, I think India is well positioned to ride this wave. As a matter of fact, we might do it very well, because what the world wants is to have India to refine their crude for them. So there is a situation that is evolving where India can manage this thing. And India has been very hawkish in trying to make sure that it doesn't have to go back and start issuing oil bonds like the way the UPA did. And therefore, and I believe all those bonds are paid off. So right now, India is in a position where it has the market, so it can command best price. And the challenge in India has maybe short term, 1 or 2 weeks, is how to manage its natural gas pipeline. Because right now, Qatar has declared force majeure, which means that all contracts are off. We're not going to be able to do anything. That is the challenge. Other than that, I think oil-wise, India is doing okay. But natural gas also becomes a big part of India's lives now. We have weaned millions away from chula, which is wood-based, coal, wood hearths are all gone now. So everybody is used to gas cooking. So we need to make sure of that. I think that's the only hiccup I see. I think India has proactively started rationing gas to many companies. I think 10 to 30% cut. So they'll have to manage in other ways. But I think this is a very short-lived thing. My opinion is that in 2-3 weeks, India will figure out a way. There are many people who can provide natural gas, including United States. We'll see how it goes. I'm not too concerned about that. And I think even the oil prices have eased today, General Shankar, from yesterday.
Yeah. So fine. So this is where it is. We'll get back to this because you raised the question of the Strait of Hormuz and what's going to happen, and we'll talk of that. We'll talk of that a little later, right? Not immediately, right? And I'll explain to you how Strait of Hormuz can be handled militarily, politically, and everything. And I'd request you to raise this issue of gas at that point of time, because there are certain issues which we'll clarify. But now it's premature. Let's get into back into Iran, and I'll start with Washington Post. What does Washington Post say? Violence forges a new Middle East. It is coming. A new Middle East is happening, right? And Hamas October 7 attack launched a historic reordering. So there's a linkage. What's happened on October 7, 24 is not going to run away. What's happened now is not going to run away. There's a huge linkage between the two, and this will haunt us in the long term. In the long term, this has to be kept in mind. Then, of course, the New York Times. Interestingly, there's no major headlines in the New York Times. All right, that's the thing. See, it's going off the burner in some manner. And he says Senate Republicans have, they've tried to block limits to president's war powers, but at some other place it says no, the Senate has said go ahead. Okay, so, right. This is the interesting thing which you spoke of. Pro-American Kurdish forces are doing something. We'll talk of that also a little down the line. Right. What does New York Times yesterday evening said? That Turkey has shot down a drone over NATO. Of course, Hexet says there'll be no let up on attacks on Iran. You get the mood in USA. And what does Al Jazeera say? He's also talking of his CIA planning to do something in, Kurdistan. And Iran death toll is 1045. It's not 700 as you said. 700 must be old thing, but today's thing says 1045. And they talk of US submarine which has sunk Iran's ship off Gale, Sri Lanka. We'll talk of this also, right? And of course, death toll and all that we'll see. Interestingly, the South China Morning Post, the Chinese View, yesterday evening, those of you who are in P Gurus and on Gunner Shot, I'd like to tell you, I analyzed how this Iran war is affecting China. Have a look at it. It's a very deep analysis I've done. It's not for people who want jokes and flash and all that, right? Have a look at it. Okay, but here, they talk of 2 sessions. Today, the 2 sessions starts in China. Their focus is their internal because their problems internally are more than external. They're not bothered about Iran now. They are looking at something called regime survival. If you think it's only Iran who's looking at regime survival, sorry, CCP is also looking at regime survival. And here, this one which I've circled, Panama, they've given up on Panama. Very important. Virtually, this signals that China has given up on Latin America.
Correct.
Right? And they're internally this thing. The Iran war doesn't hit the top headlines. What do you make out of it? Shreyaji, your view.
Well, this is really a surprise. I have always maintained, and this is now like 5 or 6 months now, that whenever like a proxy of China is getting hit, it may be outwardly hitting Venezuela, but the pain is felt in China. Likewise, now Iran is getting hit, but the pain is being felt in China.
Yeah.
They know what's wrong.
They know what. Yeah, I agree with you. Now let's go ahead. I'm going to take a detour into France and Ayatollah Khomeini. This is an article from France 24. It was sent to me by one of my audience, or audience rather, right? And I didn't know. The French village where Ayatollah Khamenei fomented Iran's revolution. And they speak of a lot of things in this time. And to put things in perspective, they talk of, interestingly, Khomeini, I'm taking a detour because you have to understand this whole story to come to the present. Ayatollah Khomeini was, against the Shah of Iran at that point of time. He was using the clerics, he was using the communists, he was using anti-Shah forces, which included the Americans,
Right.
to foment a revolution in 1964. So the Shah was exiled not Shah, Khomeini was exiled by Shah. Where did he go? He went to Turkey. Turkey kept him for 1 year and they found him too incendiary. And they sent him to Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, 65. Okay. He was in Saddam Hussein of Najaf. Najaf, if you know the history in Iraq, is a holy place, Shia holy place. So from there, Iraq kept him for 13 years. Okay. And then sent him off to France because he was becoming too hot there also to handle. Right? And the only place at that time where an Iranian could go without a visa was France. Okay. And he was at a place. And who hosted him there at that point of time? Or rather, who helped him and kept him there in, France, was a chap called Abul Hassan Banisadr, who was later on the president of Iran, and also Rafsanjani. Right? So these guys who are in the power structure have very deep roots. So to think that these guys will suddenly vanish one day, not going to happen. That's why I've got this. Okay, and okay. Interestingly, he was in France only for 120 days. That's it. And then he came to the revolution took place, he came to back to Iran. Who made that revolution happen? I read through this yesterday night. Part of the guys who did it were the Carter administration.
Why?
Right? Communists. Same guys who wanted to throw out the Shah got him back. Right? And who were the guys who actually got him back? Right? I'll come to that a little later. But interestingly, after he got back, did the revolution, everything, 1 year later, the house in which he stayed was blown up. No explanations. Right? Okay. Now, this is a great picture I have. Have a look at it. Who's this? Khamenei coming back to Iran, escorted by the French guys, escorted by a French pilot in an Air France aircraft. How do you like it? Okay. And of course, today this is the cartoon which has come out. This is a French deutero I've taken very purposefully. He says, "Ni pass, pass." That means to please don't go. Right? And yesterday we discussed Macron saying that, Charles de Gaulle will come up to Cyprus, all that. So what do you make of this French detour as we are talking of and all that? And how do you think it affects Iran in the present context?
Sir, see, maybe we should look at what were the interests at stake in Iran. There were British interests because British were owning that company, British Iran Petroleum Limited, which got nationalized. So they had some stake. They would have probably wanted to get control back. They may have wanted to get somebody of their choice in who they thought that maybe do their bidding. Because Shah, I don't think he denationalized petrol, did he?
No. He in fact, on the other way, he nationalized it. Or rather, he tried to. You see, one of their earlier prime ministers, Mossadegh nationalized
did it.
Did it, and he was assassinated. Within 2 months, he was assassinated. So it's not, Shah didn't ever nationalize it. By then, Shah was weakened partly not only for this. He had cancer also. He had developed cancer also by then.
Right.
So, okay. So this is where it is. What you're saying is absolutely right. I mean, it might be interesting to know when the Shah was alive, Israel and Iran had tremendous equations. They wanted to put a pipeline from Iran to Israel. Can you imagine, through the Red Sea and all that?
Correct.
Okay, so this French detour is a little interesting when you go back. So, a lot of people today in USA, why I brought this in is, a lot of people today in the US thing, they say they want to go back to that time, the pre-Shah time or the Shah time. It can't happen. Okay, this is utopia. Please remember that. Okay, and this Mullah Dam is also not going anywhere. Also remember this. Okay. Now let's get on with what other things happened. Very interesting things are happened. Okay. There's a fire on at Baku, Azerbaijan. They fired on this thing. So Iran has opened a new front. Why Azerbaijan? Because Azerbaijan and Israel are close friends. This is how the funny thing is. Now, interestingly, Azerbaijan, Pakistan, and Turkey are also close friends. See how things are getting meshed up? So, we'll talk of this a little later also. The state funeral for Khamenei has been postponed indefinitely. Why? Again, if the state funeral happens and all these chaps come out, the next lot of missiles will hit. After all, 2 waves of leadership have gone, so they've gone back on this. Right? Look at how things are happening. Okay. Then there's a ship, Iris Dena, which has been sunk off the Gale coast, Sri Lanka, and Hexeth has very clearly said that they've sunk it, and with a submarine. And about 140 have been missing. In fact, the Sri Lankan Navy went and rescued the survivors and all that. Now, there's a bit of a controversy on this, which I thought let me explain. You see, the controversy is a lot of people are saying it happened next door to you, and it's not good manners, all that. Well, there are no mannerisms in war. A lot of Indians are saying it shouldn't have happened. What has India done? India is weak, all that nonsense. I don't agree with it. This has happened outside our territorial waters, outside our exclusive economic zone, in international waters. Okay? There is a clear war going on between USA and Iran. They've declared hostilities against each other. So, if that is so, and the declared policy of USA is to destroy the forces of Iran, they'll take it. It's fair game. The thing which we need to worry is there are American submarines lurking here.
Right.
That's the point which you have to say. So, if you have to dominate your seas, your navy has to be strong. Okay. And if something like this is happening, and why didn't you carry out surveillance? See, you knew that this ship had come for the international fleet review last month in Vizag. It was there. It was part of it. In fact, the US ship was also there, part of the international fleet review. After the fleet review, it left. Why didn't you keep track of it? Given the fact that there is this thing, you just didn't go. And if you are so worried, I'm talking of this to our own establishment, who are now coming up. Oh, why should USA come? If you are so bothered about this, you should have spoken at least to USA and say, yeah, don't sink him here, sink him somewhere else. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Any questions you have on this? Then we can go ahead.
No, I have also recorded a short monologue about this. That India is needlessly looking at this in a way that it's going to harm India or anything of that nature. It's international waters place. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. Let's go ahead with the rest of the thing. Dan Kane has said, look, Iran's theater ballistic missile shot fired are down by 86% from the first day of firing. 23% decrease in just 24 hours. One-way attack drone shots are down 73%. So Iran is losing its military capability rapidly. And something else Hexet said, I believe there was an attempt by Iran to assassinate President Trump. So he comes out and says, look, Iran tried to kill President Trump and President Trump got the last laugh. So there are certain things which have happened which we are not fully privy to. And those also guide American actions. Right? In fact, in the last July's May skirmish, the 12-day war, at that time it came out that the Israelis wanted to assassinate Khamenei, and Mr. Trump said no. But this time he crossed the Rubicon. A lot of explanations are coming out, because whatever America is doing it's not based out of madness. Then he says, look, the two most powerful air forces in the world are working together, and they're going to ensure an uncontested airspace. Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only US and Israeli air power every minute of the day until we decide it is over. Very, very clear messaging. Okay. Iran will be able to do nothing about it, and death and destruction from the sky all day long. We are playing for keeps. And he says in a week, we will have complete control of their skies, uncontested airspace. So if that is the thing, in a week, even the Gulf of Hormuz will be completely normal. Right? Even these gives you clear indications. Right. Then the next thing which I noticed, and which yesterday also we spoke about it, and this thing. He says Iran missile barrages are suddenly drying up, and the reason will shock you. It doesn't shock us because we've spoken of it yesterday. Okay. Every time one of their launchers fires, it lights up like a Christmas tree, and American infrared satellites and radar, and the launcher is destroyed. If you remember, yesterday also I spoke about this. America and Israel are getting after the launchers. Right? Having handled these forces, I was GOC for an artillery division, which had BrahMos and Smirch and Pinaka and all these rockets and all that. My worry was not about ammunition. Ammunition can be recovered. What do I do without launchers? What do I do with support systems? These are support heavy. I mean, I am one of the guys who were part of the design of the Prithvi long back. The support systems are not there. The launchers are, missiles are useless. So this is something which is going to kill the missile threat from Iran. Your views on this and implications?
Sir, one question before I start talking about this. What is the ratio of launchers to actual missiles?
Okay, that's a good question. Just think, a multi-barrel rocket launcher like Pinaka. I'm now talking open source intelligence, open source information. Carries 12 rocket launchers. 12 rockets.
Rockets in one
launcher. One launcher is capable of firing 12. Okay. Now, he has something like 27 days worth of missiles. India, let me put it. India has some 27 or 30 days worth of missiles. Okay. And so think of that. How many missiles are there for every launcher? 12 into 27 into something else. Or 12 into 30 into something else. That something else I can't tell. So for every launcher you knock out, you knock out the capability of firing so many missiles. 12 into 30 itself is a big number, no?
Yes.
360. Right? Plus something. So you're looking at choking up about 1,000 missiles per launcher you take out. Right? And it's not simple. You can't, it's not that in a, just because you have the missiles, and even with the amount of missiles you have and the rockets you have and the missile launches you have, whatever. Okay? It's not as if you can keep firing. When a rocket launcher fires, it fires, runs away from that place, goes into a hide. From there, it goes into another place where the storage is kept. From there, you load these on, and after load, before you load the rockets or missiles, depending on whatever it is, you check them out. You check them out and then load them, and then you move them back to another site. You don't go back to the same site. Because the same site is no. Okay. So this cycle for a heavy launcher, okay, could be up to 24 hours. One cycle.
Wow.
Okay. Shorter or lighter systems, you could do about 3 launches in a day. Or 4 launches in a day. You see, there's a traveling time, there's a deployment time, there's a missile preparation time, there is a missile loading time. It's not simple. People think, uske paas missile fire karo. If you do 3 or 4 firings in a day from a launcher, it's something. I'm telling this out of practical experience.
Do drones also need launchers?
No, it depends on the drone.
Okay.
It depends
Some
on
of the heavier ones probably.
Yep.
Like a slingshot.
It depends on the drone. Okay. So that's where you are. And we have to understand. Okay. Now this is an important point. So with the kind of thing going on and launchers being taken out and uncontested airspace. And why uncontested airspace is very important. Again, let me explain. If you have a launcher which is fired, how do you take out a launcher? A launcher comes and fires. The moment it fires, it's caught. There's no power on earth which you can hide that launch, because the rocket leaves a plume. That's why the guns are interesting, because the guns don't leave a trail. You fire, you can't catch the gun. The gun is a low animal. It's a small dog type. He'll hide. So anyone who thinks no, artillery is only launch, rockets anymore and guns are not required is a fool. Okay. Uh, Now, the moment this chap fires, this launch can be seen from 30 to 40 kilometers away. Okay, that's the minimum. 30 to 40 kilometers is the minimum. It could be seen up to 70 to 80 kilometers away, or more, depending on who's looking at it. And if it's at night, it's like a Deepavali rocket. See, what's the difference between a Deepavali rocket and this rocket? When your Deepavali rocket fires, you're very nice. It looks nice, no? There's a tail plume coming out and he goes up and then bursts and all that. It's very nice. Now, the same thing is a danger for this rocket because the moment he fires, you get the trajectory back exactly where the launcher is. And we have means to catch it. And if he catches it, by the time this chap fires and the launcher is down and he starts off from there, and then he has to go because the barrel is still hot. So he is
Right.
giving a huge thermal signature. So if there's someone, either a satellite or a drone or something there, he knows where exactly this chap is going. Track him and
Right.
take him out.
Hmm.
That's what the Americans are doing. And my worry always, because I've dealt with this. My whole life I spent in guns and missiles and rockets and artillery. I'm a gunner. Okay. Oh. Was how do I hide this launcher? How do I hide this launcher and not get destroyed? I had a trick. But I'll not talk of it. I can't talk of it.
The way you're saying it. Now, have you seen this movie called Pushpak? There are no words in that movie.
Yeah.
So the assassin always carries a stiletto made of ice.
I can't tell that. No, I can't tell that because it is. I knew a trick. I devised a trick how to hide my launchers. My launchers could not get hit.
Hmm.
No satellites would have caught my launcher, everything, but no one would hit it. But that's a different story. That's a different story. Okay, right. Let's get back to this presentation, and this is what Hexeth said. After all these clips, listen to it.
We will avenge them, no doubt. But I liken Iran's predicament to a football team who scripted the first 20 plays of a game. The team knew what plays to run because their first few drives were scripted. But now that the game has started and the blitz is on, they don't know what plays to call, let alone how to get in the huddle and call those plays. Iran's senior leaders are dead. The so-called governing council that might have selected a successor, dead, missing, or cowering in bunkers, too terrified to even occupy the same room. Senior generals, mid-level officers, enlisted ranks, they can't talk or communicate, let alone mount a coordinated and sustained offensive. That's not great for morale. The Iranian Air Force is no more, built for 1996, destroyed in 2026. The Iranian Navy rests at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Combat ineffective, decimated, destroyed, defeated, pick your adjective. In fact,
so what do you make of that? What do you make of what Hexeth has said? Right? Yeah, please.
See, what US has taken out is slowly sucking the oxygen out of it. They may have a lot of potent hypersonic missiles. Without launchers, they can't do much. Then the next phase will be to take out those missiles wherever they are hidden in underground bunkers. So it's just a cleanup operation after this. And why that's why I asked you about the drones, because for me, for Hormuz, would drones be able to still create damage? Because if they put one tanker on fire. Yeah.
I'll talk of Hormuz with a map, right? Right. What I want to say is what Hexeth said very interestingly. He says Iran is like playing a football match with the initial moves are scripted and further you can't take it forward. He said that, isn't
Right,
it?
right, 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 right,
I'll
right.
take it a step further. I've always felt that autocracies and military autocrats like Pakistan and even China and now Iran, these are all great in the first half of the game. The second half of any game is for the democracies. So, we are a democracy, India is a democracy, right? India will not play the first half well, but the democracies play the second half very well. We are second half players. We'll win in the end. The autocracies like Pakistan and China will win the first half well. Keep this in mind always. Very important. We are second half players. Okay.
We will avenge them.
Right. The next
No
thing
doubt.
is okay, we'll go past this. And people are now saying if you are Xi or Putin, you have to respect the military capability. Don't think you are great. And I think they've started understanding this. This understanding is coming in China. Okay. Like we said, CIA planning to arm Kurdish forces, uprising in Iran. Look, you said this also in the morning. My own view is yes, it's good. It's a diversion. It gives you boots on ground. But how far they'll go is a question mark. Right, and then there's a thing that the Kurdish forces have started a uprising and an offensive into Iran, and they are the boots on ground, and it's a master stroke and all that. But take it with a pinch of salt. It's gonna help, but not that much. Look, Kurds are only this much.
Right.
Okay, but how will Kurds help? That I want to bring out. This is the five where the Arabs which have written. This is where the Iran's oil infrastructure is. Okay, this infrastructure can be dealt with by the Kurds. If they come down, Bushehr, and they have that Karg Island which is here.
Right,
This
right.
area can be hit, and that's where the Kurds give boots on ground. You see, so far the Iranian oil infrastructure has not been hit. It's not been hit. Now, that oil infrastructure can be threatened by the Kurds. And this is where the whole story becomes interesting and important. But we'll take it on later. Now, you said Strait of Hormuz. So I went into the whole details of Strait of Hormuz. We have, this has been blocked. I wouldn't say blocked. The blockade is not because of Iran. Iran has not blockaded Strait of Hormuz. The blockade or the thing has happened because of insurance. And who controls the insurance? The Britishers.
UK.
UK. Yeah. And you know what Mr. Trump has done already. In fact, yesterday you spoke of it.
Right, right.
Okay. But if physically this has to be done, it is this. This area has to be secure.
Correct.
Yeah. In UAE and this area will be secure. Home bank. Okay. Now, if you look at it a little deeper, this is how many kilometers? About 50 kilometers. The actual
33,
channel,
33.
no,
33.
the actual channel is 33 kilometers, but the width of this water gap is 50 kilometers. So this is Bandara Pass, which is one of their main ports. If someone sits on this island, he can catch any tanker which is going through this. And same here. This is Jask. The Chinese are trying to develop a port at Jask. So this bit has to be sanitized. So what do you have to do for that? For that, you have to get hold of all these hills, go about 20 kilometers here, a bridgehead kind of a thing, and hold that perimeter. Will that operation be done? It will be a sort of an amphibious operation. It's on the cards. If it comes to that, someone has to do it. Otherwise, there's no way you can sanitize the Gulf of Hormuz. Let's be very clear. Okay, not by air alone, because like you said, a drone can still come and hit a tanker. One tanker going down here, you'll have a lot of problems. Okay, so he has to do with it. Can they use Kurd forces? Yes. Can they use Omani forces? I mean, the UAE forces, any forces. They can put up. They can even use Blackwater. They can use mercenaries. You say, look, these are not. I'm putting them. I'll put them on. And you don't have to actually hold all this. You just have to hold a few heights and with enough thing to keep those guys who will attack this area out, shoulder-fired characters. People who don't get direct sighting of Hormuz. So you have to go maybe about 8 to 10 kilometers in, form a perimeter and where no one can launch anything, and then combine it with aerial surveillance. Aerial surveillance can go another 50, 60 kilometers in, and you push the Iranian drones and missiles and stingers type, back, which they couldn't do in, Yemen, because of different reasons. So can you do that? You can. Will they do it? We'll see. Any questions now on Hormuz?
No, sir. I wanted your input on how much, let's say there is a band, a buffer zone they want to create, 20 kilometers by how much length? 100 kilometers?
Yeah. No, this entire length.
Hmm.
They have to put up some lot here, some lot here, some lot here, some lot here, and dominate the communications coming into this area. Then, so look, it's not going to be a simple operation. Let me tell you, none of these operations are simple. They are all complicated operations. But if you want to keep the Gulf of Hormuz opened out straight, go there, right? And for all I'll give you out of box solution. If I were an American, I'll take this off and say this is a part of UAE. This is an opportunity. Then the Gulf of Hormuz, that part of Iran, you lop off, give it to UAE, and strengthen it.
Knowing Trump, he will sell it.
Whatever, right? Then that I'm now talking out of the box. I'm thinking out of the box. That's one of the options available. Okay, so we'll see how all that goes. But this is a discussion, right? And then look, I found this clip by Mike Pompeo, who was the previous Secretary of State. A very interesting clip. Have a look at it. Let's see.
John, that could well be true. Sometimes you just take down risk for the moment, right? If we got 5 or 10 years of stability and peace from Iran, that'd be fundamental. That'd be a major accomplishment for sure. Second, we shouldn't diminish that the regime has already changed. Everyone says, is the regime going to change? Make no mistake about it. The theocracy that was in control of Iran for the last 47 years is no more. That's
a very interesting point he says. He says the regime has already changed. I mean, listen to him. Again, I'll play it. Listen to him.
That the change has already occurred. Now we need to sort through what that's going to look like. Some of that we can influence and impact, and some of it will ultimately be up to the Iranian people. But I'll remind you, John, this isn't just about Iran either. It's about the Gulf Arab states, Israel's right to exist, peace in the region, and the Chinese Communist Party and the Russian influence in the region almost all flowed through Iran. I promise you, no one's going to start to pick the Chinese and the Russians as their defense partners after they've seen the U.S. decimate Chinese and Russian equipment, technology, and structure for their military. The Chinese Communist Party has been diminished as well. President Trump should get all the credit that's so much deserved for having done that. More work to do, but a lot already accomplished.
So your take on what he said?
See, HQ9 has been completely exposed now, and I'm also reading that many countries are withdrawing their orders or they want their money back. So China is in a bit of a pickle here. We know that even Opsendur HQ9 was completely exposed. Russia, I think, has not done too badly, although somebody must have taken out that big radar in Qatar, right? American radar. And I wonder who did what, took that out. That would be useful for them to know. I mean, at least there is some vulnerabilities left, right?
Yeah, look, in war, there will be vulnerability, there will be losses. That's a given. But the point he's making is this whole story that the regime change has already happened in some manner. Look, this is a way of thinking. But I have a different view on this. That's okay. But I'll keep my view to myself today. So as per them, the regime change has happened. This whole story is not just about Iran. It's also about the Gulf states. It's also about Israel. It's also about the CCP and Russia and the American power. A lot of equations have changed in this whole story. We are going forward. We're not going to go back into the past to see why we were there. We've gone past that point. So whatever is going to happen is new. We are in uncharted territory. And that's what we'll discuss tomorrow also, when, three good generals. I mean,
Yeah.
you might like to
So-
tell everyone that about this.
We'll make that announcement right now, sir. Viewers,
Yeah.
tonight is semi-final, India versus England. So we're going to not have three good generals at our usual time of 8 p.m., but instead have it tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. So do tune in for that. All generals are going to be able to make it. So instead of 8 p.m. tonight, 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, and that will give us a little bit of time, and you can also enjoy the game. You don't have to worry about what's happening in Iran. So over to you, sir.
Yeah.
John, that could
Okay. And then, it's not only one previous Secretary of State, even Anthony Blinken, the previous Secretary of State with the Democrat, look at what he has to say. Look at that.
And then what is that off ramp? I think
He talks with the
president
off-ramp.
may simply declare victory. He'll say, got rid of the Ayatollah. We diminished or degraded or destroyed their nuclear program. Again, we did the same thing to the missile program. We did the same thing to the Navy. And as to the regime, well, over to the Iranian people. Good luck to them. Hope they succeed. And if they don't, it's their fault. If they do, we'll take the credit. How Iran responds to that remains to be seen.
So that's how it is. He's already talking of an off ramp, right? And the way things are. So, I mean, look, this is a bipartisan view which is coming out about how things can go from here. And it gives you an idea of, right? And this brings me, I'm going to quickly go over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to go over the Trump way of war. This is interesting. All this is written. It was written a few days back. Trump's way of war, article in Foreign Affairs. What does he say? He says normal thinking is force should be used as a last resort. You need a clear objective with a clear exit strategy and public support. And when you use it, you should use it with overwhelming decisive force to defeat the enemy, using every resource, military, economic, political. This is a normal way we think, isn't it? But it's not Trump's way of thinking. And he's analyzed how Trump has done earlier. He said 2017 and 18, Trump ordered missile strikes against the Assad regime in Syria and also against ISIS. He hit both of them without getting involved there. Ultimately, he engineered the killing of Abu Bakr al-Dadi at that time. It's not as if Trump has not used force. Trump has consistently used force, but he's used force in a different manner. You go back to 2020, it was under Trump that Qasem Soleimani was killed. Where was he killed? In Iraq. Okay, in an airport. It was completely in a civilian area, he was knocked off. Last year, when USA launched its war against Yemen, against Houthis, right? What did he do? He went and tried to destroy the Houthis. He couldn't do that, and they've done a deal with them. So with Trump, the exit strategy could be a deal also. Now, this year, we know that he went and what he did with Venezuela, and he seized Maduro and did a deal with Delcy. Okay, he's also attacked militants in Nigeria. Why Nigeria? There's no logic.
Oil.
Because they oil.
Oil.
It's all about control, yeah. Okay. He's used ambiguity as a source of advantage. He's caught his opponents off guard consistently. And another interesting thing about Trump is negotiations can continue, operations will continue. There's no stoppage. No public ultimatums. You do this, I'll do that. He'll give it in his ambiguous manner in that press conference, in his communication, and do what he has to do. And it is not that force has not been employed. It has been employed. In fact, it has not been employed without exhausting other means. While other means are being exhausted, force is also being employed. And for him, it's one of the tools available to get advantage. Look, all this is being analyzed, and we are not reading it, and we are not seeing it, applying it to what Trump is doing. And then you read this and you see what is going on ground. You know where this exit strategy is. Now both the secretaries of state are talking of it. And Trump has never laid out a case for his war to anyone. Not to the Congress, not to his own team, nothing. Okay? And just think, in this case also, negotiations were going on about the nuclear material, all that, and let's go. And he has never, in all his stories, all his war efforts or conflicts which he's undertaken, the Trump administration has avoided articulating clear objectives for the use of force. So far, even Trump, I've heard, he says, I have strong objectives. But what are those objectives? No one knows. Rubio talks of regime change one day, someone talks of nuclear thing, someone talks of taking out missiles. What is the clear objective which USA wants to achieve at the end of this? No one knows so far. Okay. Now look at Venezuela. What was the whole story? Initially, that blockade, everything was to, stop drugs and gang members from entering USA. It was not for doing what he did in Venezuela. Then the goal later was to bring Maduro to justice. And then now he says, no, my goal is to, control oil. So what are the goalposts are constantly shifting. We don't know what the goalposts are. Even in this, I bet there no, I mean, having said this, now I'm very clear of what he's doing. Look at Houthis. I said that earlier. Now see what he said. We will use overwhelming lethal force until we have achieved our objective. Right? With the objective allegedly to bring Houthi attacks on American vessels in the sea to an end. Trump said later Houthis would be completely annihilated. A month into an expensive and only partial successful bombing campaign, the administration cut a deal with the group to end its attacks. So don't be surprised if there's a deal cut between the whatever is left of that regime and Trump to take it forward. I'm looking for the deal. When will that deal be announced? And who are the guys in that deal who will be involved? Trump's way of war. Multiple and often vague objectives. By that, he retains the ability to stop fighting without admitting defeat. And that's what Blinken also said now. It favors short, sharp military engagements. Employ air power and special forces. Not conventional ground forces. So I don't expect boots on ground. And he said this at the beginning. The difference between what's happened today and what's happened in Iraq. In Iraq, the Allied forces were in for a ground attack. Here, they're not for a ground attack. The American forces only want to go by sea and air. Okay. In 2025, Trump boasted about obliterating Iran's nuclear sites. But in 2026, he has cited the danger of Iran acquiring nuclear weapons as the cause. Everything is ambiguous. Failure is also shown as success. Flexibility rather than decisiveness is the watchword. Yeah, this is the last one, which is very important. Allows Trump to settle for outcomes that were never clearly defined at the outset. This is Trump's way of war. With this way of war, where do you think, and seeing whatever has happened, how do you think, we'll spend a couple of minutes, your views, and then we'll take questions. This whole story is going to go forward.
So let's play this thing out. Who's the biggest loser here? Iran is, of course, but more than that, it is China, because this is coming second time. They've lost their foothold in Latin America. They're completely out of even Panama. And now they are going to lose Iran, which was a very cheap source of oil for them. And they didn't have to pay for it in foreign exchange. That's another big problem. They're forever looking for dollars. So the BRICS currency, what is that? Everybody is now going to stop worrying about that. And Iran oil, again, US will have control over it. Maybe India has a big role to play in that because it's so close and it can refine it quickly and everything can be done faster if India is in the loop there. India needs to be a little patient, and then, I'm sure these things are already being planned out, that this is what's coming your way. What do you need? Well, India will need that not IMSTEC corridor so that they can go to Central Asia through Iran and also be able to reach Afghanistan without having to bother about what Pakistan is going to do. And Iran, I don't know, it could still get balkanized, or maybe at least to some extent, so that see, sir, this amazing thing about oil fields, have you noticed that oil fields are like a cluster, one big cluster, and all these countries have like a nose, pin tip, where you take Kuwait or all these things to go and get the oil. So somebody British, what, Sykes-Picot agreement.
Yeah. Let me see if
So
I can get it.
I
don't
think
have that.
Yeah, the biggest loser here is China. And
the biggest loser is China. There's no doubt about it. Pakistan is at risk. We'll talk of Pakistan one of these days, right?
Yes.
And this is how it is. Any other points? Otherwise, we'll take a few questions. Because otherwise,
no, I'm done, sir. This is. I think next couple of days we will know, because the Hormuz Strait is our only variable now, and once that's sorted out, then things will start settling down again.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Praveen, for becoming a member. Thanks a lot, PK, for becoming a member. SH also thanks a lot for becoming a member. Ahuja, thanks a lot for becoming a member. Yeah, AI5815, thank you for becoming a member. And same for, again, SWA, I don't know what this thing. And Arpit, thank you for becoming a member. There's only one question. Start. As per the Atlantic, Baluch militias in Iran and Pakistan are also rumored to be involved along with the Kurds. Your views on this?
Possible. Pakistan is fighting with Afghans, and that's a separate fight from what the Baloch are doing to Pakistan. And if Baloch on the Iranian side are rumored to be involved with the Kurds, see, it's a fair amount of distance, unless they had planned this thing much before. But there is a plan to do it. I'm not so sure, General Shankar, because Baloch are not huge in numbers.
No, let me put it this way. The BLA is in Afghanistan here. Okay, the Kurds are here. The Kurds could have different end game. The Baluch would have a different task. It's a matter of different tasking. But it's a very valid thing which these people can do, because this gives you the ability to put boots on ground, not your boots, someone else's boots. And tomorrow, if you want to put unconventional special forces on ground, then you have local support.
Correct.
See, if you want to put some forces on ground to do an insertion and do a special operation, you need some place where you can land safely and do everything. So that area, this map which I've shown you, this map, you see, this area is available, the Kurds area, and similarly the Baluch area, this Sistan Baluchan area. This is the heartland. Okay, what they can do, there's logic in this. Possible. Let's see how it happens. I'm not talking militarily. I'm not talking politically. Right? If that happens, if the Baluch are involved with the Americans, then the Pakistanis have to get worried.
Right.
So, really speaking, that's the only question. Otherwise, a whole lot of comments, and I really can't track them. I think we'll call it a day here. Your final views, and then we'll.
Starting a war is not difficult. Ending is difficult. Like General Shankar said, you have to have something like, okay, I have got this in place. Maybe like what General Shankar is saying, that some parts of Iran are annexed and become parts of UAE with some sort of a defense agreement in place, so that can be retained, and also a systematic removal of missiles. Iran is a proud nation. It's not going to give it up so easily. This operation is going to continue for a while. But if Hormuz is opened and maintained open successfully, that gives them that flexibility to go and finish off these missiles. But it's not just the missiles. There's like, where did they get all the technology from? The raw materials, the wherewithal, all that stuff has to be also removed. And then how much time do they get after all that? Let's say you have completely removed all the missiles. How much time do you have before they start redoing it again? After all, Hamas was right in the neck of the woods of Israel, and they built such an intricate tunneling system. And every flat system, multi-floor flat system, had these huge air conditioning ducts. So it's not as if the Israelis didn't know what was going underneath.
Yeah.
So that's my question. How long?
I don't think that, like they said, things will change very fast. A new regime will come in. I mean, you call it a new regime, a new version of the old regime will come in. That's not an issue. Something will happen. Militarily, I think Iran, another 2 days. That's what I said 2 days back, 3 to 4 days. Militarily, they'll get exhausted. No one is coming to their help. China is fixed where it is. China is more busy with these 2 sessions. And militarily, the deal is done. But that is not important. The important thing is, will there be peace here? You can carve out any number of pieces. You can, break Iran into 10 different pieces. But what has happened here, will it bring peace? Remember, we are talking of a people, the Shia mentality, ideology, which says sacrifice is supreme. Sacrifice is worship. Karbala. All that. And that is what we need to discuss. We'll discuss this, because I don't want to talk about it today, because then tomorrow morning when we talk, US has won the war. Will it win the peace? That's the question. That's a big question which needs a lot of discussion.
Right.
We'll talk of it tomorrow. Right? With this, if there's nothing more, we'll call it a day. And
we'll call it a day, sir. Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank Sri Ayerji for joining in. Namaskar and Jai Hind to all of you.